My name is Savannah. This is my new YouTube channel, Savannah Makes Things, and on here I plan to talk about my love for knitting and really all things crafting, but especially knitting. Today I'm going to try and film my very first video, and it's going to be all about fall inspired patterns. I've made a list with a couple different categories, and these are all patterns that either I want to make, or I am making, or I plan to make very soon. So hopefully this gives you guys some inspiration, and if nothing else, maybe just a little bit of entertainment. So welcome and thanks for watching. So first up, I'm going to go into the cable knitting section. And the very first pattern that I have is called the Ribbed Cable Sweater. It's by Pernille Larson. It's on Ravelry. Let me go to Ravelry. This is a beautiful cable knit sweater. It's worked top down and seamlessly in the round, and it is graded for sizes extra small all the way up to 4XL, so I think that that's a pretty decent size range. And it's actually 3 strands of mohair held together, so it's completely opaque. It's not like see-through or anything like that, but it's very floaty and airy and just gorgeous. As soon as I have the money to buy a sweater's quantity times 3 in mohair, I'll be making this pattern. It's beautiful. Next up, we have the Moby sweater. This is a classic. I feel like literally it wouldn't be right to make a knitting video without talking about petite knit patterns, but especially the Moby sweater. So like I said, this is a pattern by Petite Knit. It has these different sections all over, like right down the middle of the sweater. There's these cross hatch. I don't think you would even call that cabling, but it basically goes down and it makes these diamonds all the way down the very center section, and then on either side there's like a skinny cable, a fatter cable, and just all over texture. And she knit this up in I believe it was Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt in this really buttery creamy color. And if I were gonna make this sweater, I would do the same. Honestly, I don't think I would want to make it in another color. I really love how classic it looks in this color, kind of like a Chris Evans Knives Out fisherman Irish traditional sweater kind of vibe. That was a lot, but it's DK and lace held together, so she actually lists this as a worsted gauge, which would mean that it actually knits up pretty fast, which is amazing. I think that this pattern would be a bit of a challenge for me. I'm working on an all-over cable knit sweater right now, which I will be talking all about in a minute. But I've never done a pattern where I'm following maybe like a couple different charts at the same time with like different textures. I mean, I just learned how to knit at the beginning of this year, so I think this would definitely be a challenge, but I am kind of up for it. I think that I could do it, especially if I just took it slow and really, read the pattern carefully. Next up, we have one that's very exciting for me. It's the Imogen Pullover by Knits by Lillian. This is actually my very first test knit, so it's not out yet, but it should be out very soon. I think that the end date for the test is the 9th of November, maybe. I don't remember the exact date, but it's early November, so it's gonna be out very soon. And this sweater has just been a dream to knit, and maybe that's because it's cables, which I love so much, and fall is coming in, or maybe it's that I picked such a vibrant red color, but it's just been a dream. So keep your eyes open for that one. this pattern is written on 4.5mm needles. That's what's recommended. But I actually personally went up to a size 5mm. In fact, I have 2 swatches. I have this big one, which was the first one I knit, and I knit this on 4.5mm needles. I'm hoping you guys can see that good. And honestly, like, it's a beautiful swatch. First of all, let me mention the yarn so you understand. I'm doing one strand of Drops Flora in red. I think that's the name, yeah, literally just red. I love Drops Flora. I'm like a disciple. And another strand of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk, and I believe it's also just called red. And I'm holding these 2 together, but the pattern actually calls for 2 strands of fingering weight merino held together, and I'm doing 1 strand of fingering weight wool and 1 strand of alpaca silk. And although this is considered, I believe on the Drops website, it's considered to be a fingering weight because of like how thick the halo is, it never knits up that way for me. It always knits up closer to a lace gauge, so I'm slightly under the weight that it was supposed to be. So when I knitted it up in the swatch on the 4.5 needles, it looked absolutely gorgeous, and I was ready to sort of jump right in, but I took measurements of it, and it just wasn't making it to gauge. And I was, thinking, like, do I want to re-knit this up in a different needle size, or do I want to just go with it and, maybe knit a different size to compensate for it? But I decided that since it is a test knit, I wanted to be as true to size as I could be. So I did another swatch. This one I did much shorter because I'm a little lazy, but I did full pattern cable chart, at least. But I did another one up in 5mm needles because I just wanted to see how it looked, and I wanted to see if it would come to measurement better, and it absolutely did. I think I was like 3 stitches off on the 4.5mm needle. I don't remember. I need to write this stuff down, but I think I was like 3 stitches off on my original one, and this one I hit it like exactly. So I just decided to go with the 5mm needle. So keep that in mind if you're planning on knitting these specific yarns. I absolutely love, I mean, you can kind of see it in the ball itself, especially like if I bring it in the sunlight. But this yarn has the most gorgeous halo, because the flora itself actually has a little bit of halo when you start to knit it up. And then I picked the alpaca silk instead of like a merino because honestly the merino has these like super long hair like strands, and I don't love the way that that feels like when I'm knitting it up and when it's on my skin. And it's probably just because Drops mohair is just a little bit cheap, and maybe if I tried a different kind of mohair it wouldn't be as bad. But I thought with this one I would give it a shot with the alpaca silk because I know that people have used it instead before, to get sort of that same gauge, that same floatiness and halo. And I'm in love. I think I really will probably do this for several patterns because it makes it so light and airy and fluffy, and it's soft and it doesn't bother my neck at all. So highly recommend if you are on a budget like I am and you can't afford to maybe buy some of the nicer mohair, give the brushed alpaca silk a try because I think it looks very similar in style, but it's cheaper for one, and it is so soft and non-itchy. So I will show you my work in progress in just a minute. I'm actually almost done with the second sleeve, but I chose to knit the sleeves and collar before I finished the body because I wasn't sure how long I want to make this sweater, and I still haven't made up my mind. So I'll show you that in just a second, but first I want to tell you about the sizing. pattern is graded for 10 sizes, 10 whole sizes, from 90 centimeters all the way up to 171 centimeters. And for reference, not that you can really see, but I have about a 100 centimeter bust, so I'm knitting size 4 because I wanted a little bit of extra room. And this pattern is definitely achievable for like an adventurous beginner. If you want to get into cabling and you've never really done cables before, or if you've done them but you haven't done them like all over, this is a great pattern because you basically just have to keep track of rows, three rows, like, and 5 rows. You just remember, like, knit 3 cable, knit 5 cable, knit 3 cable, knit 5 cable, and it's so simple, and it's gorgeous. Also, Knits by Lillian, who designed this pattern, is so sweet. It has been such an honor to test knit for her, and she's been like there throughout the whole process with us, and I highly recommend supporting her and her designs by buying this pattern whenever it comes out. Now, I will show you what I've got going on here, if I can do it without making a mess. This is my work in progress. It hasn't been blocked yet, obviously. I'm just gonna wait till it's done to do that. I knit the sleeves up pretty long. I want it to be kind of a slouchy, oversized cable knit. I have this folded, let me tuck my blend in. I have this folded neckline, and actually I have never done a folded collar before, and I was so stoked to be able to try it for the first time on this one. And it's a twisted rib necklines are my love, but this is a folded twisted rib neckline, and just look at that. It's like plush and it's just gorgeous. And you can even see how the cables go along here on the sides, and just the attention to detail is fantastic. I truly recommend it. You can see that Olive loves my knitting too. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this. I'm thinking about starting a separate series of podcasts for my works in progresses as well. So if you'd be interested in maybe seeing that, definitely leave a comment and let me know. But I should be finishing this really soon because I'm on the second sleeve already. And after that, literally all I have to do is just knit in pattern all the way down until I decide how long I want it to be, and then finish up and block it, of course. I do have an Instagram where I post all my progress pictures, and it's called Savannah Makes Things. And I've been posting pictures of this already, and definitely go over and follow that because I will be posting as soon as I finish this. I want everybody to be able to see how it turned out in the end. So thank you so much, Knits by Lillian, for your beautiful design. That was a bit of a long one, but lastly, in the cable knit section, I have the Salty Days sweater by Kutava Kika. If you watch a lot of knitting YouTube, you've probably watched her before. She is so sweet and amazing, and her patterns are just like, they blow my mind, like how she can just get so many of these out and be so like creative with all of them. But my very favorite that I'm probably going to cast on as soon as I have the yarn for it is the Salty Days sweater. Now, I do have to say, if you haven't seen this one yet, it's not exactly a cable knit sweater. Like, I don't even know if there's any actual cables in this, but it's very, I'll insert a picture somewhere on here, I'm sure, but it's very texture based. So there's like these different sections, like one where it's like straight up and down ribbing, and then you have like the diamonds, and then just a bunch of variety in this pattern. And that's why I put it under this section, because although it's not necessarily cables, like actual cabling, it definitely gives a fall cable knit sweater sweater vibe. So, especially depending on what color you did it in. I've seen people make this sweater in like bright green, bright pink, and that's like gorgeous. But you know, you could also do like a muted beige or like a chestnut brown, anything like that that would show the texture really well, and it would be absolutely perfect as a transitional piece because it has these little, almost like holes, like lace type holes throughout. So it would be nice and airy for when it's a little hotter, especially like how it is here down south. But also nice and warm depending on the yarn choice that you use. It's a DK with lace gauge, so she actually lists that as a DK gauge. It's on 5mm needles with 3mm actually for the cuffs and the collar. And it's got 9 sizes from 100 to 197.5cm bust. So it's very oversized in finished circumference. And that's just a look that you'll find out that I love quite a bit. So moving on, my next section that I've put down here is wardrobe staples. So these are things that I just really think that everybody should have in their wardrobe, whether it's a specific pattern or just sort of like an idea of something to knit. And it's really something I've been thinking on a lot recently anyways, because we're coming into the first fall that I've been a knitter, really, because like I said, I started early this year, so I mean literally like in the first couple weeks of January was when I learned how to knit, and I just fell in love with it. So this is the first fall season that I'm getting to knit, so there's a lot of things that I want to have that I just haven't really had the chance to knit up yet. So let's get into it. Up first, we have a pattern called The Classic by East-Based Trico. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. And honestly, I think all the patterns that that designer puts out on Ravelry are free. They're incredible. You should definitely check them out. But this is a basically black classic, like the name says, mock neck slash, I don't really know if you could call it a turtleneck because it's not like a classic like fold over turtleneck. It's more like a mock neck. But anyways, they knit the sample up in black. It's knit with a fingering weight and a lace to make it a DK gauge, and it's worked top down in the round, raglan increases, split hem. I mean, it really does not get more classic than that in a like full stockinette pattern. So I'll insert a picture so you can sort of see the vibe. This is one that I have not yet cast on, but I do own the yarn that I plan to use. And actually, I had ordered Drops Flora with Sweater's quantity of Drops mohair, but I ordered Flora in their black color, just plain black. But I thought that I wanted to do sort of a marled, not quite black, but black with a little bit of like, you know, change throughout. So I got the charcoal gray mohair, and when I got it in the mail, I immediately swatched it up because I was so excited. And honestly, the charcoal gray mohair just took over. Like, it didn't even look like there was any black in there. It was just all charcoal gray. And that's not really the vibe I was going for. I really wanted it to be a black turtleneck, but with some movement and some marling in there. And so, you know, I was disappointed because that's not what I was going for. So I had to decide sort of like, do I just want to make something different and use this yarn for that? Or do I want to just make it with that and deal with the color not being how I want? Or, you know, like, what am I gonna do? And so, as I was thinking about that, I remembered, because I actually crochet as well. I've crocheted for probably 3 or 4 years now. So I'm like fully know how to crochet. And I remembered that crochet thread is a thing, basically. And if you haven't ever crocheted, I don't know, I mean, you've probably heard of it, but I don't know if you've ever used crochet thread. But it's this 100%, I don't even know if you can see that because of how bright the sun is. Hold on. It's 100% mercerized cotton thread, but it's like a really thick thread. It's not like thread like you could ever use on your sewing machine. It's not like that. It's basically just like a super thin cotton yarn. And a lot of crocheters use this in garments actually. They use it with like a 0.5 1mm crochet hook, and they use it to make like these cool designs and such. But it struck me that I had never seen or heard about anybody doing like holding a strand of this, like basically a strand of yarn with a strand of crochet thread. And so I thought, hey, I have crochet thread lying around. Why don't I swatch it up and just see if that, like, if I could hit gauge, first of all, if I could hit gauge. And second of all, like how it would look, you know, because it is a mixing wool and an alpaca mix with cotton. And I just thought, you know, let's give it a go. So I swatched it up. I really don't know how this is looking on camera. Hopefully it's showing well. But I love this. Obviously I love a lot of things, but I hit gauge perfectly with, I believe it's 4.5mm needles is what the pattern calls for. Yeah, 4.5mm needles. And I just held one strand of this and just one strand of this, and it met gauge. And it looks like it has the tiniest little bit of halo in it from the flora. And this has been blocked. I think you can tell because of how, like, you know, stiff it is. But it has the tiniest bit of halo, but it's just like true black. And I loved the way it felt knitting it up. So I'll keep you guys updated. I'm sure somebody has done this before. I really don't think I'm like the first one or anything. I just haven't seen anybody talking about holding crochet thread with yarn. So like I said, follow me on Instagram. As soon as I finish the Imogen test knit, I think this is what I'm going to cast on next, because I'm honestly a bit of a monogamous knitter. If I have like a bunch of projects on needles, I get a little bit like overwhelmed because I feel like I'm not making enough progress on anything, and I'm just barely moving on all the projects. And when I get overwhelmed, I just kind of don't do it. I just don't work on it at all. So as soon as I finish the Imogen sweater or pullover, this is what I will be starting on. So follow along to see how that WIP works up. And look how, like, I don't know if you can even tell. It just feels amazing. It's like a little bit heavier than just wool, but not heavy like cotton. Anyways, I'm excited. And the twisted rib is actually what they use in this pattern as well for the collar and the cuffs and everything. So I just think this is going to be a beautiful project and a beautiful finished object as well. Next on this list is another one by Kika. She's also, her actual name is Veronica Lindberg, in case, you know, you needed to know that. But she has just, and I mean just like literally a couple days ago, come out with the Darling cardigan pattern. And I am absolutely stoked because I don't have a single knitted cardigan, like, at all. Like, I don't even know if I have like a store-bought, like, machine knit cardigan. So I desperately need one, to say the least. And I think that that's another thing that's going to be high on the priority list for this season, is to knit a cardigan, because I don't have any and they're so functional and beautiful. And they go with literally everything. So Kika just came out with this pattern. I'm going to insert a picture like usual. It's very much like oversized, relaxed, casual, soft, cozy vibes kind of sweater or cardigan. And It's just perfect. It's got a bulky gauge on 5mm needles. It's worked flat, as all cardigans are. You know, you like go back and forth and back and forth. It's a drop shoulder construction. It's graded for 9 sizes from 104 centimeters to 186.4 centimeters. And it is just airy and classic. I think that this is, I really don't know what yarn I would use. Because like I said earlier, I am on a budget. I mean, I'm working part-time, I'm in college, I've got rent, so I can't just buy all the yarns that I would love to use right now. But I'm thinking maybe even like 2 strands of the brushed alpaca silk. Even though I know it says bulky gauge, I'm wondering if I use the same needle size that I knit kind of loosely, if I could do it with 2 strands of brushed alpaca silk, because then I could choose like a really bright and fun color and it would be so airy, like almost like not even there airy. And so stay tuned to see if I give that a try, and I'll let you know, because if that works out, that would be a really affordable project and really fun, not just for like right now in fall, but even for like come around in springtime. If you wanted to knit like a super fun color for spring, you could definitely, I mean, the Drops brushed alpaca silk line has really incredible color selection in my opinion. Sorry, I have to readjust. Next up, we have the Pearl Sweater. This is by Elena Beba, also known as Garnoschliet on Instagram, which I believe means actually yarn and such in Norwegian. But she is another wonderful designer. I've interacted with her a couple times on Instagram, and she's so sweet, and her designs are absolutely up my alley. Like, I mean, everyone she just puts out are like so similar to my vibe, I guess I would say. It's incredible. But one that she actually just came out with, I think she officially released it last month, is called the Pearl Sweater. It's a V-neck pullover, and I think the V-neck is double folded, or at least folded. I'm not sure, but anyways, but it's got raglan increases for the sleeves, but all throughout the sweater, instead of a stockinette stitch, there is broken rib. So you get this like all over knitted texture, but it's very subtle, especially like I think in her sample, let me take a look, that she knitted up, she used almost this like, I don't know if I would say chestnut brown, but definitely like a darker brown color, so you can't really see the texture up close until you like zoom in or you see it in a better light. And I just think it's gorgeous. This is one I definitely would want to knit, because I don't really have any V-neck sweaters. It's again like an oversized fit. It's using 1 strand of fingering weight and 1 strand of lace, so it's a DK gauge. I probably would use Drops Flora, Drops brushed alpaca silk, knowing me. And it's just, it's graded from 6 sizes, 104 centimeters to 138 centimeters bust, 4mm needles, which is one of my favorite needle sizes. And when I look at this pattern, and you'll have to tell me if you feel the same way, but I just picture myself sitting at like a campfire roasting marshmallows, wearing this. It's like light enough for fall, warm enough for when the seasons start to change towards winter. It's just a lovely, lovely knit. So that's everything for wardrobe staples for now. What was that? Like a turtleneck, a cardigan, a V-neck, very much like actual staples, I would say. And so lastly, I have a section with just a bunch of miscellaneous things that I think are just so cute for fall. I mean, truly, it is actually miscellaneous. So I'll just jump right into that section. First of all, another one that I'm currently working on is called the Fall Leaves pattern. It's by Bobby Intveld. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's literally just leaves. Like it says, it's 3 kind of leaves. I think it's oak, maple, and I don't remember the third one. But it's 3 different leaf shapes, and you can really adapt this pattern to any size yarn, any size needles, although I think that originally you're supposed to use 4mm needles, or at least that's what I'm using right now. She uses the pattern, whoever designed it, the designer used the pattern in the sample photos to make a garland, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But more than anything, I'm using this pattern right now because I have a lot of this orange, like, I don't even, it's like orange and yellow almost together yarn that I bought a few years ago from Michael's for a crochet beanie, and I never got around to it because when I started working with this yarn, it's very frustrating. Like, you can even, like, I think you can maybe even tell if I get it close enough. I don't know, but it's almost like if you took roving, like if anybody here is a spinner, and you know roving is like how, like, what you make yarn out of, and it's like not yet been spun. It's almost like if this is just a really thin piece of roving, like it hasn't actually been spun, or if it has been, it's like super lightly, and it's an acrylic yarn, 100% acrylic, so it's so like annoying to work with. Squeaky, it like fights you the whole time. Like, honestly, it's almost like it's sticky with metal crochet hook, and even with these like bamboo needles that I have. So it's just been sitting in my drawer for literally, I think, 3 years now, and it's a gorgeous color. Like, it's a beautiful orangey yellow, and so I never wanted to like get rid of it. I just wanted to find a good enough pattern to use it up and be done with it. But since it is so annoying and I don't love the feeling of it, I didn't want to use it for a garment. And so when I came across this pattern on Ravelry, I was just like, absolutely, that's perfect. So I've started working on it and fell on the floor. I actually finished one of them. I'll show you. I think it's the cutest. This is the oak leaf pattern. I hope you guys can see that. And it's perfect how the yarn like kind of naturally changes colors throughout. But it's beautiful. And I did make a little mistake right there, but I did not feel like going back to fix that, so whatever. But anyway, so I have one of those done, and I've done another one. I've just been, this one I actually did like a little I-cord stem on. I did not do that on the other one. But this is just something I work on when I'm bored and maybe a little bit too like stressed to count rows for a pattern and like really pay attention. So I'm just like mindlessly knitting because it's all in garter stitch. But I would highly recommend. Super fast. I think I knit that first leaf in like under an hour, like maybe even 30 minutes. I just knit it straight up. You don't really have to block this stuff. And when you're done, you know, you can use them as decoration. You can string them up, make a garland, which is probably what I'll do. I mean, I think you could even probably use, like, if you had like a really thick cotton yarn in your stash or something and you used a larger needle, you could probably use it kind of like a trivet or whatever, like a pot holder. But it does have to be 100% cotton if you do that, or else it'll melt. But anyways, just a beautiful pattern, super fun, free. It's a free pattern. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it is free. And it's just lovely. And another pattern by the same, this is like an honorable mention, by the same designer on Ravelry. There's another pattern, and it's these teeny acorns. They're called Fall Festival acorns, and they're 3D, like literal, like they're the actual size of acorns. I have not knit those up yet, but I think I might, especially before Thanksgiving, like for my grandmother or whatever, and you can just kind of sprinkle them on the table. But again, a free pattern that is just cute and not a garment and takes 5 minutes, and highly recommend. Another one I've got in this section is a blanket. Actually, I have never knit, I mean, like I said 3 times already, I just started knitting this year, so I haven't knit a blanket yet because I've been so excited that I can finally knit my own clothing. But This is one that I found when I was looking for different blanket patterns a while back. It's called the Overlapping Leaves Blanket. Overlapping Leaves Blankets. And it's by Nalcib, or Nalhcib, on Ravelry. This is another free pattern, which is crazy to me because this is a beautiful, like, heirloom type quality blanket in my opinion. But it's got these alternating leaves, which is why I think it calls it the Overlapping Leaves Blanket, because like you'll have one leaf that kind of goes along and it's stockinette, and another leaf in garter, and it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like that to make it look like they're overlapping. And this is just gorgeous. So I highly recommend, and I will be making this blanket at some point. I don't know when, I don't know with what, but this is definitely on a to knit list, if that's a thing. Next up I have last up, I have two different patterns for socks. One is like kind of just a fun fall sock, and one is like one that I actually would like to knit as soon as possible. So I'll start with the Feather Vein socks by Helen Stewart. This is on Ravelry as well. These are just fingering weight gauge 2.25 millimeter needles. That's pretty standard for socks, I believe. There's 3 sizes, like a small, regular, large, and it's got this texture going throughout. I'm looking at the picture right now that is almost like these little V's that go all the way down, and it's just so subtle but so like classic. And I really want to do these socks because they're plain stockinette on the back other than the heel. The heel is, I believe, I don't know what that's called. I don't remember what that's called. Like a slip stitch heel or something. I'm not sure. But anyways, the back is all stockinette, the bottom of the foot stockinette, and you just have those 2 lines of the, like, the feathers called, like the pattern's called feather veins, like straight down the feet. And I just think it's so beautiful and classic. I would definitely want to have these to show off my knitting skills, but also just to like wear peeking out of some boots or out of some loafers or like whatever I want to wear. I think this is a beautiful pattern, and I already actually have some sock yarn, so I really probably will cast these on very soon. It's the Malabrigo Ultimate Sock Yarn, I think in the colorway Zinnias. And this is some yarn I picked up back when I was living in Asheville at the local yarn shop there called Pearl's Yarn Emporium. I don't know if anybody's local to Asheville, North Carolina, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's a beautiful yarn. Actually, it's so beautiful that I haven't like knit anything up in it because I'm so afraid to like knit the wrong thing and not have it shown off in the way that I want it to be. So, but I think that I might knit those socks in that yarn, although I'm not sure because there's a lot of like color variation and I really do want that texture to show. But and then lastly on this list is these socks that are so freaking cute. They're called I'm Baddie for Halloween socks, and I will definitely put a picture in here for you, but they are these socks with 2 colors. They're colorwork socks, and the main color is anything you want it to be. They used orange in the sample, but I mean it could be literally anything. And then the alternating color is black for the bats, and there's tiny little bats all over these socks. And I am, if you know me, I am a sucker for Halloween. My birthday is 3 days before Halloween. I mean, I have always loved it. I love Halloween decoration, Halloween movies, Halloween themed snacks, I mean just everything. So obviously I love Halloween themed knitting, and I just think these are perfect. They even have a pattern, a picture on the pattern page on Ravelry where this person is wearing like short heeled Doc Martens, and you can see the socks like peeking out above it, and it's just so fun. So that's one that I absolutely want to knit, and I'd like to knit it this year, but I don't know if I'll be able to get around to it before Halloween, so I might wait till next year and cast it on a little bit earlier so that I can just knit it up super fast. But the reason I like this pattern as well is because I have never knit colorwork before, other than this one tiny like swatch of a fish that I did to try and like practice. And I think that with a pair of socks, it's such a small project that it's a good way to practice and not have to catch too many floats, because I mean you're just constantly alternating between the bats and the regular color. So I think this would be the perfect practice for me, and probably for others too, if you're interested into getting into color work, and especially if you're interested into getting into specifically color work for socks. Like I've seen the cutest socks on like TikTok and Instagram with like little tiny strawberries or bunnies, or I mean really anything, and I think this would be perfect for that. And then a fun little extra, if you've made it this long in the video, I love you. I have this yarn that I picked up at my local yarn store here in Charlotte, and it's the Berroco alpaca yarn. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Berroco Ultra Alpaca yarn, and it's in this beautiful red color. Obviously you can tell I'm going through a bit of a phase right now, just because I feel like red looks good on my skin tone. But I want to knit a hat out of this. I only bought one skein because it's actually a really big skein, I think you can tell, and I think this is enough for like a DK / slightly chunky gauge hat. But I wanted, if you guys have any recommendations for a hat pattern, please leave them below, or DM me on Instagram with a pattern idea for this yarn, because I really want to cast one on soon, because it's starting to get just a little bit chilly here where I'm at, and I love nothing more than wearing a cozy hat outside at night so that my ears are a little bit covered, and it's my favorite thing. So please leave me some recommendations. I've never knit a hat pattern before, so yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm hoping to do this maybe like once a week, whether it's knitting pattern recommendations or a podcast about the different yarns that I've got and the projects that I'm doing or the ideas that I have. And if you guys are interested in that, just, you know, follow, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and go over and follow me on Instagram, and you guys can see it all in real time. Thank you so much, and I really hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and mwah!